this story real quick, and that is since the election of Donald Trump, millions of folks have turned out to the streets to protest his presidency, Republican agenda as well. Now check this out. The investigative website, theintercept.com, is reporting that Republican lawmakers in several states where women's marches took place last weekend are proposing bills that would essentially make non-violent protest a crime. In Minnesota, Washington State, Michigan, and Iowa, laws are being proposed to stiffen penalties for protesters who block traffic. In North Dakota, measures being pushed that would allow motorists not to be penalized for running over protesters if the collision is ruled an accident. In Colorado, a law is being proposed to increase jail time and fines for environmental protesters. In Virginia, lawmakers are pushing to increase the penalty for unlawful assembly after having been lawfully warned to disperse. Joining me on the phone from Minneapolis, civil rights attorney Jordan Kushner. Jordan, this is clear. You have Republican legislators who want to target the First Amendment. They don't want to see protesters.
I agree. And I'll point out that it can be a crime already to engage in nonviolent protest if it's in civil disobedience situations, but they want to make it a more serious crime. They also have bills to make protesters pay for police costs if they get convicted, and to turn the crime of obstruction of legal process from a misdemeanor into a gross misdemeanor or a felony. And obstruction of legal process often happen. People get charged with that if they challenge the police or try to record them, and the police get mad and they arrest them, and they want to make it basically impossible or prohibitive to be able to exercise First Amendment rights to challenge the police. And
Jordan, how are folks pushing back against these laws?
Well, there was a large there's been a lot of effort, through the media. The media is interested in interviewing both sides, so there's been efforts to try and expose what's going on. But there was also a very large turnout for the bill that was going to make blocking a highway a gross misdemeanor or a felony. A large turnout from Black Lives Matter came, and 12 people spoke out against the bill, apparently very articulately. Only one person spoke in favor at the legislative hearing, but yet the Republican-dominated committee all voted completely for the bill, just ignoring all the arguments. And it did end up being a disruption to the hearing because people were upset that the legislators were not paying any attention to the merits, that they already had their minds made up, that their agenda was to crack down on the protesters, and the hostility within the right-wing sectors of Minnesota is clearly directed at Black Lives Matter.
Gotcha. Cornell, real quick, these laws are very similar to what happened in Jim Crow days when folks in the South tried to stop NAACP and others from protesting.
And precisely, and they have currency with respect to this day. Why? Because on the 30th of this month, the Alabama State Conference of the NAACP and I will go to court for our arraignment for criminal trespass. And we sat in the Mobile jail for hours on end. We were fingerprinted, we were booked, and the fact of the matter is we're going to be subject to fines and perhaps as long as, I believe, 60 days in jail. The point being here is this chilling of the First Amendment is real because we're asking grandparents and grandchildren to stand up for their voting rights and be willing to go to jail. And so where we have legislators who will make civil disobedience, honoring the tradition of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, more difficult is somehow, to me, morally inconceivable.
Gotcha. Cornell Brooks, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I got to go to a break. I'm sorry for that. Jordan Kushner, we appreciate it as well. Thank you so very much.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin, every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.